I was born right here in Utah County back in 1972, you know, back when there were more cows than Costcos. All right, that might be an over exaggeration. We only have 4 Costcos now, but there is so much that has changed in that amount of time. I mean, let's just say it is just not the same place as it was when I grew up here. And after 46 years of living in Utah County, am I leaving? Stick around to hear the pros and cons of what it's really like living here in Utah County. And this is coming from someone who's been here a long time. Hey, I'm Scott Walters of Best USA Realty. I am your Utah YouTubing realtor, and I talk about everything, what it's like to live, sleep, eat, work, and play in Utah County. Today, I am talking about, am I leaving? Now, I would be lying if I said I didn't think about it, because I've thought from time to time, what would it be like to live somewhere else? I certainly wonder that, but let me talk about a few things when it comes to Utah County. You know, when I grew up here in the 70s and 80s, Utah County was about 140,000 people. Now, I talk about Utah County, I'm talking about the Provo, Orem metro area. I've lived in Provo, I've lived in Orem, I've lived in Salem now for almost 30-something years. So I've grown up and lived in Utah County pretty much my whole life. And when I was younger, about 140,000 people lived in Utah County. Now we're approaching 800,000. So it's just really grown. I remember the big thing when I was a kid, we had one LDS temple in Provo that you could see from about anywhere in the valley. You could always see the lights on there. Now there's multiple temples. There's what, 5 or 6, or going to be up to 9 when they get the Lehi done, and Spanish Fork and some of the other temples, and the Linden Temple. So there's just multiple temples. You've already got the Provo City Center Temple, you've got the Payson Temple, Saratoga Springs Temple, the Mount Timpanogos Temple, that Orem Temple. So that's been a big change here in this valley, back when there only used to be one LDS temple. So there's just been a lot of changes. Thinking about relocating to Utah? Well, I've got just the thing for you. My team and I have actually taken the time to create the ultimate relocation guide, which is meant to save you hours of research. And I've linked it down below, from top employers to the best hospitals, and a boatload of other things that you need to know before making the move. The best part is this guide is 100% free. That's right, you heard me right, 100% free. Just click the link in the description on the top pinned comment. Hope that helps. I think when I was growing up, everywhere seemed to have more of that small town feel. Like, I grew up in Orem back then, it was like 60,000 people, and it actually still felt pretty small back then. Lehi felt like just a little small farming community on the far north end of Utah County. It was just out there and away from everything. And where I've resided the majority of my life, down here in the Spanish Fork and Salem area, it was just tiny. Salem in particular was just really small, maybe 1,000 people. Now it's something like 12,000 people. So there's just been, it used to have a very small town charm in most parts of Utah County. You always had the Provo Orem, which was kind of the big city, and they still are the big city. One thing growing up, all we ever had here locally was a Kmart. That was it. Now there's shopping centers all up and down the entire valley of Utah Valley. You've got shopping centers out in Saratoga Springs, and then Lehi and American Fork, and of course all over Provo and Orem, and now down in Spanish Fork with the Canyon Creek shopping district, and there's a smaller shopping district in Payson. It's like all the communities now have large big box store shopping districts that just didn't exist. Back again, when I was growing up, there were a couple Kmarts here and there. Seems like that was the biggest thing we had for shopping. Of course, we always had the University Place Mall. That's been around ever since I've been born, and they just they keep doing a good job of keeping that mall revitalized and relevant. That's the word I'm looking for. It's relevant. It's just still a place that people gather and go to. You know, here back when I was growing up here in Spanish Fork, Salem area, we had McDonald's and Arby's. I think those were about the only fast food options we had down here. Now you have every fast food and other restaurant options imaginable. So those are some of the things that have changed since I was young here, growing up here in Utah Valley. All right, so let's talk about the pros. The biggest pro to me here for living in Utah, and this hasn't changed, this has always been the same, and that is just the access to the outdoor lifestyle. I absolutely love spending time in the outdoors. One of my favorite activities, sitting here in my backyard, enjoying looking at my garden and just looking up at the mountains. The views of the mountains anywhere in Utah Valley is the one thing I love. We're encircled about by mountains. So you've got the Wasatch Front Mountains on the east side of the valley, and then on the west side you've got Lake Mountain and West Mountain. They're not as tall or as big, and even kind of up to the north have like the Ochre Mountains. But it's like this whole valley is ringed in by these beautiful mountains. You've got this big, beautiful freshwater lake in the middle of the valley. And so I've always just loved the views in looking over the entire valley. Like this morning, I hiked up to Woodland Hills, and as I'm hiking up to Woodland Hills, I have an incredible view of Mount Loafer. And then as I'm walking back down, I'm looking out over the whole valley, seeing Utah Lake, seeing all the way up to basically the point of the mountain up towards Salt Lake. You can see Mount Timpanogos and all the other beautiful mountains in the valley. And it's just, I never get tired of it. Every single day, I love looking at all the beautiful mountains. That was the one thing that has never changed living here is the beautiful views. And again, like I say, the access to outdoor lifestyle. Where I live, I've got all these canyons have rivers running out of them. They've got camping spots and picnic spots. If you start on the south, you got Santaquin Canyon, then you got Payson Canyon, you got Spanish Fork Canyon, then you got Hobble Creek Canyon, you got Provo Canyon, and American Fork Canyon. All these canyons are so beautiful. If you go up Spanish Fork Canyon, you're just a few minutes to go up to the Diamond Fork turnoff, where you can get to the hot pots up there. Beautiful river, lots of camping up there. Also up that canyon, up Spanish Fork Canyon, you can get to Schofield Reservoir, Strawberry Reservoir. You head on up north to Provo Canyon. Of course, you got the absolutely amazing Bridalveil Falls up Provo Canyon, beautiful. And of course, you got the beautiful Provo River Trail that runs along the river there, starting just north of Bridalveil Falls. I almost forgot, Spanish Fork's got a beautiful Spanish Fork River Trail that's absolutely beautiful as well. But heading back up to Provo Canyon, you go up there and you can hop on the Alpine Loop. You can be up to Sundance, which is a beautiful ski resort, but you can use it all year round. You can go up there and mountain bike in the summer, or you can go on fall ski lift rides in the fall time. And of course, the skiing is fantastic too. So you've got that canyon, and then up that canyon a little further up Provo Canyon, you got Deer Creek Reservoir, or that's also another access to get down to Strawberry Reservoir, or go up to Jordanelle Reservoir. You want to go on up to Park City, and all that Park City has to offer, it's just up that canyon. And then of course, if you go on the north end of Utah County, you've got American Fork Canyon, which is a beautiful canyon. You got Timpanogos Cave there and Tibble Fork Reservoir, and of course that road drops over and down into Provo Canyon. And then of course you're not that far away to get up to the beautiful canyons in Salt Lake County with Immigration Canyon. You've got Big Cottonwood Canyon, Little Cottonwood Canyon, Parley's Canyon. All the ski resorts are up Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon, so you're not that, you're about an hour and 30-minute drive from the southern part of Utah County to get up to the amazing ski resorts up in Salt Lake. So those are the things. It's just the outdoor lifestyle is so amazing here in Utah County. You can be just minutes and you're out on the big beautiful Utah Lake enjoying a day boating on the lake with your family or friends. And of course the mountains, you've got all the camping and hiking you could ever want to do so close. Mountain biking's big around here. People love doing mountain biking. There's just trails, dirt trails all over the whole county. So those are some of the reasons why I love living in Utah Valley. Hey, there was one thing I needed to add about the outdoor lifestyle. I don't even know how I forgot to talk about this, but in addition to all the local outdoor things to do, one thing that's awesome about Utah and Utah County is we are just a few hours away to most of the iconic 5 Utah national parks. You're 3 hours away to Arches National Park, to Canyonlands National Park. You're about 3 hours away or so to Bryce Canyon National Park. Capitol Reef National Park is probably 3 hours away as well. All these beautiful national parks are so close. Sometimes we like to take a weekend trip to head on up to like Yellowstone. They're on the Montana-Wyoming border, and that takes us about 7 hours to get there from here. We've also done 6-hour drives down to Mesa Verde National Park down in Colorado. The location here in the western United States is amazing. We've gone over to the Rocky Mountain National Park over in Colorado. That's also like 6 or 7 hours away. So in addition to the local outdoor scenery, we've got incredible access to all these amazing national parks in the western U.S. And how could I forget to mention your Grand Canyon? You're just a few hours away down to the north rim of the Grand Canyon, which is probably my favorite part of the Grand Canyon, or even the south rim a little further away. But we're so close to all that. We have amazing state parks too. You've got Goblin Valley down in that southern part of Utah. There's just so much to do as far as outdoor recreation with the national parks, the state parks, and just all the other recreation with the canyons and the lakes here in Utah. You know, the other thing, one of the reasons I love it too, is I've talked about now there's a whole lot more LDS temples than there used to be. There only used to be one. Now there's multiple LDS temples in most of the communities, so you're never that far away to see a beautiful LDS temple. And then of course you just have the access to all the modern conveniences. I talked about all the different shopping centers you have in every community now that we never used to have. And so those are some of the benefits and pros. And then of course, if you're a big BYU homer like I am, we're just minutes away to go to all the BYU activities. Absolutely love going to BYU football games in the fall. The atmosphere is so beautiful. The view, sitting there, I always sit on the south end, so I'm always looking up towards Mount Timpanogos. One of the most beautiful venues to watch a football game. Of course, the Marriott Center there for the basketball games is an awesome venue. And of course, the other cultural activities there. There's just so much to do at BYU. My kids just spent a week there for the Strength of Youth camp, and they absolutely loved being there on campus and being a part of that whole community. And so the access to that is amazing here in Utah County. Then of course now we've got Utah Valley University. When I was a kid, it was just a little like tech school where people went to learn how to do HVAC and plumbing and electrical and stuff like that, which you can still learn those things, but now it's a full-fledged four-year university where you can get 4-year degrees. I never used to have that. So those are just some of the benefits to living in Utah Valley. It's just great access to education. We've got great healthcare system here, beautiful hospitals. They've certainly been good for me when I've needed them. And so, yeah, those are some of the reasons why I still like living here in Utah Valley. Hey there, it's Scott Walters with Best USA Realty, your Utah YouTubing realtor. And as much as I love making these videos, there's one thing that I love more, and that's helping families and people from all over the U.S. to move here. I've helped countless families move, so whether you're thinking of moving next week, next month, or even next year, don't hesitate to reach out. My contact is right here on the screen, and it's linked in the description down below, just in case you missed the pop-up. I look forward to helping you and your family make the move here to Utah. I think when it comes to the things that make me think about ever moving, it almost always comes down to just the growth. That's the thing that I don't like, and that's just, it's kind of unavoidable. I mean, I've got 6 kids. Everyone else around here grows up and has kids, and those kids all need places to live. And then other people from out of the area find out what an amazing place this is to live, and they want to move here, and they learn about the family-friendly environment it is and low crime rates. And so it's a real draw and attractant to a lot of people to move to Utah Valley. With that, it's brought just a tremendous amount of growth. Like I said, growing up, Salem, where I live here, is like 1,000 people. Now it's like 12,000. And there's we're approaching 800,000 people in all of Utah County. I remember, again, Lehi used to feel like a small little farming community on the far north end of Utah County, you know, something like 10, 12,000 people. Now it's like almost 90,000 people. And so the growth is absolutely tremendous. And with that brings a boatload of traffic that we never used to deal with. In fact, I hate going to North County because of the traffic. In fact, the rush hour traffic starts to kick up around 3 p.m. I was there 2 days ago filming for another video that I'm working on, and I just got caught in that Pioneer Crossing area in the Lehi area, and you're just going to sit there. You're going to wait. I mean, it's going to take you 40 minutes, 45 minutes to get through there. Part of why I hate that is because I just remember back in the days when you could just sail through all those areas and there was hardly any traffic. All of that traffic jam is also flowing to the south end as the growth is beginning to shift from the North County to the South County. The little town I live in here in Salem used to have no stoplights. Now we have like 3 or 4. Yeah, I know that's not a lot, but for those of us that have grown up here, it's absolutely amazing. Spanish Fork Main Street is absolutely crazy, almost day and night. It's just so busy now. It never used to be like that. With that growth, the other thing that I don't like is just to see the cost of living increase. Now, I know everyone's experienced that, you know, with inflation and groceries and all that, but it's really been a hard hit when it comes to housing affordability. I've got 6 kids. 3 of them are adults. None of those 3 can afford the median price of a home right now. It's absolutely unreal. Like if I had to buy a home right now, I'm not even sure how I'd do it. It's just so expensive to get a house. I mean, people are spending more for a 2,000 square foot townhome than I spent for my home, which is 3 times the size of these townhomes. And it's just crazy. I'd never be able to afford what I'm in now if I was having to move and build here now. So it's crazy. I mean, the median price is $600,000. That doesn't really get you that big of a house. I'm going to get you a nice enough home. And I know that that's better compared to, you know, say if you're coming from California, you're going to get a lot better, more home for your money. But still, for those that have grown up here, it's just crazy to see. I mean, honestly, people are spending more to buy a building lot than what it used to cost to just to get a modest home. So I don't like that part of it. I don't like seeing the cost of living rise for everybody. And just kind of the loss of the small town rural feel that we used to have. It's just gone. Like my little town of Salem is never going to be the little small town that used to be. That's gone. That's certainly not going to be the small little town that my mother grew up in. In fact, the farm that she grew up on, so, you know, hundreds of acres, is now being turned into a D.R. Horton subdivision called Viridian Farms, I think is what they're calling it. It used to be out in the country away from everything, and now there's a subdivision going in there. So that the small town charm for pretty much every town in Utah County is gone, with the exception as you start heading south and west out on the southwest part of town. That's still very rural out in Genola and Goshen, west of Sanquin, those areas, you know, Lake Mountain or West Mountain areas, you know, west of Utah Lake on the south end of Utah Valley. Those areas still feel very rural. Most of those communities are actually in the county where they have regulations that your home has to be on at least 5 acres. So until that changes, those areas will still have that small town charm. But the other main cities in Utah County, they've all long since lost the small town charm. For those of you thinking of moving to the Utah area, where are you moving from and what's the reason why you're leaving your current city or state? I'm truly curious, so make sure to let me know down below. Well, I'd be lying if I said I never thought about moving. Sometimes I really do wonder about what it would be like to live in another part of America. What would it look like to live in Louisiana or Alabama or Florida or Michigan or Washington or Maine or someplace like that? I do think about or even sometimes I wonder what it'd be like to live in other parts of Utah, like St. George or some of the smaller counties south of me. But honestly, when I think about it, I realize, you know what? I have experienced what it's like living elsewhere. I've lived in California. I have lived in Arizona. I've even lived in Europe, and Utah is just home. I never get tired of the views here in Utah Valley, particularly of the mountains, the valley, and the lake. This is where I've grown up. This is where all my family and loved ones are. So am I leaving? No, I am not leaving. Hey, again, my name is Scott Walters, Best USA Realty, your Utah YouTubing realtor. Look, and if you're thinking of relocating or moving to this area, or maybe you want to move within the area, you already live here and want to move to a new part of the county, I'd absolutely love to help you. So whether you're thinking moving in 9 days, 90 days, or even 9 years, I am never too busy to help you. So reach out to me. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. And if you found this video helpful, you might enjoy my bucket list video about some great activities, mostly free activities to do in and around the Provo area. You can go watch that by clicking on somewhere up here. And with that, we will catch you on the next video.